Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jaya Guru Raya. Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki Jai. Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumararpanamastu. The Sandhya time, the time for worship of the God, is highly auspicious and is rich in spiritual current. As we have seen before, all the devatas, all the beings of all the 14 worlds are supposed to engage themselves in worship of God during this conducive time. The morning twilight, the noon, 12 o'clock, and the evening twilight, and midnight. These four are highly auspicious for japa and worship. Now Bhagwan, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, has given us all a great treasure in the form of his name, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. It is God himself who has come in the form of the name to us. As animals or the kingdom of plants, they have no right to this name. The name is not given to them. It's only to the humans the name is given. And in this chanting of the name, such vibrations, highly spiritual, very rich in high energy, they come out and spread. And what do they do? They purify our physical body, our astral body, and the causal body. What is the result? Our laziness goes, anger becomes less, fear becomes less, we become more and more sattvic. The mind is able to bear the suffering, the intense, agonized suffering. When there is strength, the mental strength, which we call the spiritual strength that we derive from chanting the name, then even the worst suffering is unable to touch us. Such is the glory of the name. You get easily reconciled to it, and what is more, when someone says that whatever comes to you, even as suffering, is a sure blessing from the divine, somehow we understand quickly and the meaning goes deep. That is the richness of the Nama. Now, all this Nama can be chanted or sung as in kirtan. But for writing the name, the power, the fruit, the power is more, because when we write the name, we have to see and write. So the eyes are engaged. And while writing the name, without knowing, we are also chanting. So the mind is involved and the tongue is involved. And of course the hand. So you see, much more than the mere lips involved in chanting the japa. And therefore the likita japa always has more power. The nama, as we keep on chanting, the householders have to do it minimum 3 hours. Immediately, I can imagine the reaction of many householders. 3 hours, just not possible. What the Shastras say, that you do it the early morning. Of course, the Brahma Muhurta is one thing. That is, they say there are different versions. Now, one version says, which suits us, 24 minutes before the sunrise and 24 minutes after. This is highly auspicious for the japa. In any case, if you sit around 4 o'clock or 4:30, you can go on till 6 o'clock, and that would be simply wonderful. An afternoon, that is, you can start from the noon, that is 12 o'clock. If you can do it for 1 hour, that would be the best. And then again in the evening, that is again the sunset, 24 minutes before and 24 minutes after. And the midnight. Now as you go on doing it seriously, with involvement, with love, with faith, you will very soon begin to see how the vibrations take over. Now as you keep chanting and chanting, sometimes we get some visions. You begin to hear a divine sound. It's called nada. Nada. Shabda Brahman. From the Shabda Brahman, it is nada, that is the divine sound, in the form of instruments or in the very sweet divine voice of Gandharvas. And what is more, you also begin to see Jyoti. Anyway, we won't go deep into all that, but it is promised that if you do at least 3 hours a day, the householders, if they manage, because we're doing some work also, you can keep chanting. If you can do it, then you begin to experience certain visions, certain sounds, and they would be much more an inspiration than the work that you get involved for money. You begin to understand the difference between the temporal life and the spiritual life. Now, for a sannyasi, he is expected to chant at least 1 lakh nama a day. I remember when I went to Puri Jagannath temple, When we came out of the Jagannath temple, they took us to a place where there's a bakul tree. And the bakul tree looked some 1,000 years old. And I believe it is where Haridas used to stand and chant 3 lakhs a day. And he would be standing, I believe he would be standing all the time looking at the temple tower. He was not allowed inside, so he would stand at a far off distance from the temple near the bakul tree and looking at the tower and the flag on top of the tower, he would be standing and chanting. Such severe austerities and tapas would bear enormous fruit and faster. But then, for ordinary mortals like us, at least as much as we can, we must do. Not get distracted. When the mind is full of desires, or when the mind is filled with anger, fear, grief, jealousy, it will be very difficult to chant the name. But that is when you have to chant the name. The Nama has the power to remove all that is unwanted in us. It will also destroy the karma, the bad karma that's behind the suffering. And that is why we get diseases, the bad karmas, they give rise to diseases. And then when we attempt something or the other, there is failure. Some bad karma would be playing up. But then let us remember, God puts some blessing also into it, and we should remember only the blessings. They say Namat Thrayate iti Nama. Mananath. That is by the mind. Mananath Trayate iti Nama. The mind that chants the name is well protected. The very Nama that we chant protects the mind. So if you want to get sattvic vibrations from that, we have to keep chanting. And we should never miss those specially conducive, auspicious times in the morning, afternoon, and in the evening. So let's remember, it's a great prasad from our Bhagwan that God Himself has come down in the form of the name, and it is our foremost duty to chant it. That is the primary aim of life. Now we shall submit our today's prayer that only Bhagwan can do something at all about the prevalent situation. So let's pray again and again, begging 1,000,000 times for His immediate divine intervention to free the whole world from the clutches of these viruses and bring back normalcy everywhere. Let's beg again, Bhagwan, 1,000,000 times for wiping out all those negativities of the mind. And we know how to assist God in doing it by our own chanting the name, knowing the Nama, gives rise to sattvic waves, vibrations. We will beg again our Bhagwan to arrest the rapid spread of the diseases and enter all those medicines so that it could kill the crowd of viruses once for all. Let us beg again for the sake of all those volunteers who have been fighting the disease for the past 1.5 years, slogging day and night at the very risk of their lives. We seek their protection and all-round welfare. And Bhagwan, we beg you again for a boost to our economy, your support to all the steps taken towards its development. And we seek your blessings, special blessings, powerful blessings, for constant remembrance of your auspicious name, which is none other than the Kalpataru, our wish-fulfilling tree. And we also seek your blessings for the right attitude to life. What is right attitude? To be an able instrument in the hands of the Divine, so that we run our everyday life as an offering to Him. It's also to do it with gratitude for all the blessings we have already received. And finally, the ultimate state of being, the nirvana, the state of fullness, for which we have to learn to prepare ourselves to be able to see only His presence in everything, everywhere, and His leelas in all happenings of life, and His special blessing, even in the worst suffering of life. We need His blessings for complete transformation, for the eternal living. Jaya, Yogi Ramsuratkumar.